Welcome to By the Seat of Your Pants, a 3D video podcast all about sailboat racing techniques. My name is Julia, and I will be your host for the first podcast here in the series. This series from RaceQs is designed to help racers improve their sailing performance. So I decided it would be best to start at the beginning of the race, which is your start, obviously, pun completely intended. What I'm going to do is go over 5 different starting scenarios and show you how they actually played out for different skippers, kind of showing you what to do and what not to do. The Melges 24 fleet very generously allowed us to record their World Championship Regatta in San Francisco Bay just recently in 2013, and we really want to thank them. I really want to thank them for being so generous, letting us record their entire series. It was a beta test. We had never recorded so many boats in the same race at one time. I'm just going to explain to you a little bit about this interface so that you know what you're looking at. The first thing to know is these are actual boats rendered into these little sailboat avatars, and you're seeing their color-coded GPS tracks coming out behind them. And they're color-coded for speed, so you can decipher it here on the right-hand side. Basically, you can see this guy is going 6 knots, up to 7, the orange. Right now he's going about 6 knots, the yellow, and so on. It's a little bit easier to see, I think, if you look at it from the bird's eye view, which is the view from the top. You can clearly see those color-coded tracks coming out behind the boats. So this shows the entire fleet. We didn't record 40 boats. We were only able to randomly place some GPS trackers on 30. And for our purposes today, in this first race, we're going to be looking at boat number 8, which was piloted by a guy named Nathan Wilmot, and the name of the boat is Embar. A big thank you to him for allowing us to use his GPS track. A little bit more about the interface. We're going to be talking about starts. Let's rewind our replay to the start of the race. So here you can see it's 1 minute, 13 seconds before the start. You can see all the boats in the fleet jockeying for position, and you can see these color-coded lines coming out. Again, these are their GPS tracks, color-coded for speed, and the key is right down over here. So we can watch the acceleration and decelerations as the different boats are maneuvering. Our boat right now, boat 8, is going only 1.2 knots, coming out of a couple of quick maneuvers there. This green shaded area is the starting box. Here's the starting line. And what happens is the software, the RaceQs app, goes onto a smartphone, and after you put in some benchmarks, it creates this starting box for you right there on your cell phone, and it shows you how to get your perfect start. Basically, so as we're watching these starts, when we get within a minute of the start, you're going to see the starting box start to shrink. This line here that's moving, I call this the pacer line. Basically, if you're in front of this line, you're on track to be over early to your start. If you're behind it, you're going to be late. So what you want to be is right on that line or as close as you can get in order to have an on-time start. So when you're using this on your phone, if you're ahead of the line, then you just slow down a little bit. If you're behind, then you know to speed up. So let's zoom in, and you can see this is a highly competitive fleet. The Melges 24 fleet has a lot of professional sailors in it, and these guys know how to start a race. So keep that in mind when we're talking about all these starting scenarios today. This is really how the experts do it. So you can see our boat here that's labeled number 1. That's not because they're in first place. That's just their designation. They are right at the line, on the pacer line, and you can see they had one of the best starts in the fleet. They were only late to the line by 3 seconds. Our boat that we're following, number 8, they were late to the line by 4 seconds. So not a huge difference. As I said, this is a very competitive fleet. So let's talk about our first starting scenario. We've all heard of the Vanderbilt start, which is the full speed start. Basically, the way you do it is you reach out away from the line for a minute and a half, tack back and head to the line at full speed for the same minute and a half. The theory being that your downwind speed on a reach is the same as your upwind speed close hauled. So you should have, basically the theory is that your downwind speed on a reach is the same as your upwind speed on a reach. So you should get to the line on time. This only works if there's no current and nobody around to mess you up. In reality, it's pretty much impossible because you're reaching down against because you're reaching down on port tack and you're having to duck people left and right. In reality, the concept is you get as far as the start line as you can, about 150 yards, and then turn around and head back. The people that can do this start have a really good sense of time and distance, and they're going to get pretty close to full speed and just sail around the boats that are in their way. And they hit the line right at the gun. This is kind of a mid-level starting approach. It's kind of difficult for amateur sailors, and this is something our Perfect Start app really does help with, because again, you can follow that pacer line and make sure that you're on track. So let's look at boat number 8 and see how he approached this. So here we are. You can see up here it says 3 minutes to the start, and you can see up here we're right at 3 minutes to the start. And here is Embar on boat number 8, heading away from the line at about 3 knots. So let's speed up our replay a little bit, and we'll go twice as fast as in real life. And so you can see now we're coming up on 2 minutes 30 seconds. He's still heading away, probably maneuvering around some other boats here. And here he is starting to parallel the start line. And he's basically just estimating. Here he is waiting. See, you can see that he's stopped. He's just going 0.7 knots. He's basically stopped there, waiting to make his run at the start line. Now, this guy is very experienced, so he knows just intuitively how long it's going to take him to get from here to here and have an on-time start. So again, we're calling this the full speed approach. So let's see how he does that. And here we are at 1 minute to the start. And he's starting to pick up a little bit speed, but still not heading for the start line. And here he is, he's made his turn. You can see this, he's going 5 knots up to 6. He's not going to go completely full speed. He's going to reserve a little bit in case he has to accelerate, in case he wasn't quite on time and needs to get there. So now we're just 8 seconds to the start, and you can see he's holding back. Full speed for him is probably more like 6.5 knots, so that he's not over early. He's accelerating right at the end, and off he goes for a great start. He did really pretty well, just 4 seconds late. And that is the full speed approach, very common.